Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are taking on a massive, highly practical challenge. We're going to take the vast, high-vibrational mysticism of Sanatana Dharma and apply it directly to our raw, everyday reality. Okay, let's dive into this, because we are going to explore how to completely transform the way you live, work, and interact with the world.
It's one thing to feel this sense of universal unity and absolute peace when you're sitting quietly in a meditation room, reading ancient texts, right? But it's a completely different story when you open your eyes and step outside. I mean, how do you actually maintain the stillness of Brahman when your phone is buzzing non-stop with notifications? When your emails are piling up at work, bills need to be paid, and you're stuck in just mind-numbing traffic? How do you stay peaceful through the chaotic friction of modern life?
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact misconception we need to shatter right now. On the left, we've got the myth, this idea that to live a truly spiritual life according to Eastern philosophy, you have to pack your bags, renounce the whole world, leave your family behind, and go sit in an isolated Himalayan cave, where, let's be honest, the Wi-Fi is notoriously terrible. But look on the right, that's the reality. Sanatana Dharma says something radically different. It introduces the path of the Grihastha, the householder. It teaches us that the absolute highest spiritual laboratory isn't on a mountaintop, it's right here in your everyday life.
So let's look at Section 1, the blueprint of life, and the four Purusharthas. The ancient sages, well, they were actually incredibly realistic psychologists. They knew that if a philosophy only talks about sitting in silent meditation all day, it completely ignores our natural, healthy human desires for security, comfort, love, and ambition. So instead of suppressing those material desires, they beautifully organize them.
Let's walk through this balanced, four-tiered ladder, flowing from Dharma to Artha, then Kama, and finally Moksha. The crucial takeaway here is that this isn't just some random list of goals. It's a structural hierarchy. Every single step relies entirely on the uncompromising integrity of the foundation beneath it. You literally cannot successfully jump to the top without building from the ground up.
We start at the very bottom, with the bedrock, Dharma. This is the foundation of righteousness, duty, and moral values. Because it serves as the absolute bedrock of the ladder, it means before you make a single dollar, or before you make a single major life choice, you must filter it through Dharma. You have to stop and ask yourself, is this action ethical? Does it bring harmony to the world, or does it just create more chaos? Dharma basically ensures your character remains anchored in integrity and compassion.
Once Dharma is totally solid, we step up to the second pillar, Artha. Artha means wealth, material security, and career success. And I really want to highlight something huge here. Hinduism explicitly encourages building wealth. It doesn't glorify poverty at all. Providing comfort for your family and achieving success are deeply noble pursuits. But because Artha sits directly on top of Dharma, that wealth has to be earned through righteous means. You can't exploit others or cheat to make your fortune. When it's earned properly, money becomes this beautiful, clean tool to foster peace.
Then we move to the third pillar, which is Kama. Look, life is meant to be enjoyed. This pillar represents pleasure, love, sensory enjoyment, and aesthetic happiness. Enjoying beautiful music, delicious food, art, and deep romance is a vital, celebrated step on the ladder. But again, because Kama sits firmly above Dhamma and Artha, our enjoyment must never become a toxic addiction that harms our bodies, misuses others, or fractures our mental peace. It has to be a conscious celebration.
And finally, we reach the fourth pillar, Moksha, ultimate spiritual liberation and realization of your oneness with the divine. Just look at how beautifully this system works together. It doesn't ask you to jump straight to moksha while starving your basic human needs. By safely and ethically navigating the natural cycles of working, earning, loving, and enjoying with higher awareness, your material life becomes the very vehicle that smoothly carries you to your ultimate spiritual freedom.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our actual daily routines. Seriously, how do we handle day-to-day work without losing our inner peace? In our modern culture, we are completely obsessed with the hustle. We live in this state of hyper-forward-looking anxiety, constantly worrying about our next promotion, our metrics, our competition. We tend to treat the present moment just as a stepping stone to get to the future, which basically turns our desks into sources of deep, deep exhaustion.
Well, the answer from the Bhagavad Gita is Nishkama karma. This is literally the ultimate antidote to modern burnout. It means acting without toxic attachment to the fruits or outcomes of your actions. When you sit down to work as a householder yogi, this concept fundamentally changes your definition of success. You stop obsessing over the future reward and ground yourself entirely in the action of the present moment.
Consider this quote a powerful personal manifesto. You say to yourself, For the next 2 hours, this task, this email, this meeting, this piece of art is my sacred duty. I'm going to give it 100% of my focus, my intelligence, and my creativity. I'm doing it to serve the collective good, and I surrender the final result to the intelligence of the cosmos. That is the exact mental shift you make to detach from outcome anxiety. You do the work beautifully, absolutely, but you completely drop the worrying.
And you know what? When you detach from that anxiety, something extraordinary happens to your mind. The mental noise completely stops. What the ancient sages called Nishkama karma, modern psychology today recognizes as the flow state. When you aren't agonizing over the result, your productivity skyrockets, your fatigue completely vanishes, and your work actually ceases to be an exhausting chore. It actually becomes an act of joyful expression.
This means you can transform your literal day job into a spiritual practice. Think about it. If you're a doctor, the act of healing becomes your yoga. If you're a teacher, illuminating young minds becomes your daily ritual. If you're a software engineer, writing clean code to help people connect becomes your mantra. You do not need to quit your job to find the divine. You simply have to change the intention behind your work.
But our practice doesn't stop at our desks, right? This leads us to Section 2, the living sanctuary, and transforming the home. In the householder's path, the home is much more than just a piece of real estate or a place to sleep.
In traditional Hindu architecture, the home is actually lived in as a living mandir, a true sanctuary of energy. Almost every home features a dedicated space known as the puja room or home altar. And even if it's just a tiny corner, this space is kept impeccably clean and is anchored with a lamp, incense, and sacred symbols. This beautiful physical space acts as the psychological anchor for the entire family's day.
The cornerstone of that space is the practice of deepam, or lighting the lamp. Every morning before the day starts, and every evening as night falls, the lamp is lit. This isn't just a ritual, it's a profound daily psychology. The flame represents the light of spiritual wisdom. So as you light it, you are actively reminding yourself and resetting the energy of the room, silently commanding the light of truth to scatter the shadows of ignorance, anger, and ego inside your home. Along with the physical space, the home is governed by this uncompromising code of hospitality, Atiti Devo Bhava, which translates to the guest is an absolute manifestation of the divine. When you open your door, whether it's to a close family member or a delivery driver dropping off a package, you're trained to see past their human personality. You recognize the divine soul within them, treating them with the exact same reverence you would if the divine literally walked through your front door. When this attitude of sacred reverence is maintained between a husband and wife, between parents and children, and between neighbors, the entire dynamic of the household shifts. You naturally move away from petty domestic friction and transform the space into a sanctuary of absolute peace. Your home literally becomes a generator of positive energy that naturally radiates outwards, soothing the entire neighborhood around you. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Section 3, the ripple effect of spirituality in the everyday. True spirituality is not about escaping reality or hiding away from the world. It is about transducing those higher, peaceful spiritual frequencies directly down into our physical, everyday world.
Because world peace and global unity, they do not start at the United Nations. They start right here. They start in your kitchen. They start in how you talk to your spouse when you're both just totally exhausted. They start in how you respond to an angry email from your boss, and they live in the unseen integrity you maintain while earning a living when absolutely no one is watching. By balancing our lives, doing our work selflessly, and treating our homes with reverence, we completely close the gap between the sacred and the mundane.
Ultimately, you realize that everything is sacred. Every breath is a mantra, and every step is a pilgrimage. So I leave you with this final thought and question. How will you let your daily actions anchor peace in the world today? You really don't need a Himalayan cave. You have everything you need right in front of you. I hope this explainer empowered you to apply the householder's path immediately to your own beautiful, chaotic modern life. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.